In this 18-month log trial between Fraternity and B2, two huge battles have occurred over the span of the last 2 weeks, involving thousands of players, dozens of dreadnoughts, and almost every single big alliance in the game, in one titanic struggle to decide the fate of Deklein itself, and it may be decided very swiftly if one side budges. So welcome to your report on the war on Deklein, and let's dive right into the most important battle maybe yet. But playing EVE alone sucks. So if you want to take part in an awesome community, fly fun ships, make some dank ISK, and have genuinely a good time with constantly people around you to hang out with, so come and join Suspect today and fight under the banner of our great supreme leader, me. So come and join our Discord today. Anyway, on with the video. B2, including Brave and Blob, have been at war with Fraternity and its allies for the previous 18 months, with little to no progress in Deklein itself, the home region of Blob. It seemed pretty safe due to its natural barrier from the rest of Nullsec, being simply its distance. But two massive battles were fought across a whole constellation, culminating in a defeat for Blob, but especially its allies, but only the loss of one system, the loss of QPOWI. That may not be a huge loss, but it is the first loss in quite a long time since X47, and the strategy of Blob was very simple in this battle. The enemy brings endless amounts of dreadnoughts, and fighting them is simply not feasible due to the border of Deklein being very close to one of the main staging systems of Fraternity, which allows Fraternity and PH to simply bring in endless more ships, but being very far away from the actual main staging of Blob. Obviously, being outshipped is not a very good thing to begin with, so it is quite handily a downside, so you have to plan around it, and being also more specifically the constellation that is held by the weakest alliance in the whole coalition, and also the constellation that is the furthest away from the actual staging system from B2. This is not an easy battle, and it was not an easy battle. Only losing one system, it's almost like a miracle there, considering all the odds that were stacked against them. Therefore, B2 and its allies simply decided to take the beating, and ship losses even though they were completely outshipped, and try to win all the strategic timers, and therefore hold onto their space. It has to be said here that the local alliance may not be the biggest, but they did their best to defend their iHubs. They couldn't constantly defend every iHub, and eventually some were reinforced, which is what led to this battle originally. But in the end, this is a war about territory and not a war about ISK. In the grand scheme of things, money, especially on such small scales as 100 billion or less, doesn't really matter in such a war. Therefore, the loss of ships was not important. But what was important was that only one system fell, as that could be sold as a success to its own members, because it only has one system and not more. Therefore, it could have been worse. This strategy worked out for the first time. This, however, was 2 weeks ago. The thing is that this was not the only time that PH and Fraternity would attempt to take more systems in this very constellations. 2 weeks later, the same situation would repeat itself and the same strategy would be put to the test again. Same situation, same plan, but a different battle. PH by this point had a recipe for success, considering they already took one system. This means this was their chance. This means they were very excited, and their members were very hyped to take part in this, meaning they had good numbers. Even though B2 was supported by Imperium and Init, all of those alliances together could still only form the same numbers as PH did, meaning the numbers weren't really in their favor either. And being outshipped already, this was going to be a hard battle. The battle raged across multiple systems, the whole constellation. The battle was hard fought, and my corp proudly was shit-talking in Discord voice chat. We even made the word losing illegal. I mean, if you don't talk about losing, you can't lose. For 4 hours, this battle was fought. It is not the longest battle, but every side kept reshipping multiple times. Maybe it was not the longest, but clearly both sides were dedicated. Bring in more ships and more people. Constantly, it seemed like it would be on the edge. But it wouldn't be on the edge whatsoever. The success of last time simply couldn't be replicated. Due to total capital supremacy of PH, the fight ended up being a total disaster, resulting in the loss of 2 iHubs, losing 4U90 Tech Z and T Tech 945F, as well as multiple fleets, and a total of 153 billion is lost for Blob, and 81 billion lost for PH and Frat. This is quite a disaster when it comes to losses. But what really is the effect of it? Well, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot actually. Those systems are very far away from the rest of Deklein to begin with, and strategically only an entrance to the rest of Deklein. But more importantly, it was a moral loss for Blob, and a moral win for PH and Fraternity. And that may be the most exciting factor here, as this is just the start and they now have momentum. But does it mean the war's over and lost? Obviously not, because there's more than 2 systems. There's more than 150 billion ISK on the line, and there's many more fights to be fought. Deklein still remains, FaZe still remains, and B2 lives another day. But what does it mean? But what it does mean is that the fight is going to take into its next phase, and this is going to be an important phase, a phase in which victories will not be as easily won for B2 as they were before, and a phase in which Fraternity might even have a real chance at taking Deklein as a whole, and a time that will take a lot from B2 if they want to win. And the most important thing that they will need for this is to adapt. It may be a big task, but with Imperium supported in it helping them, it is not impossible. Even if taking on 2 of the biggest alliances in the game will be quite a Herculean task regardless of who you are. But hey, at least Goosam get to shoot Test Alliance again, and FireCo gets to shoot back at PH that originally kicked them out from the south. Both PH and Fraternity now have Dreadnoughts and super carriers staged in Deklein itself, and it is now up to Blob and Imperium to adjust to this situation, and in the best case, turn the war around. But it will take one thing, adapting to the situation. Because if Deklein falls, that will have more consequences, as that will be a direct border between the Imperium and PH, which clearly is not in the interest of the Imperium. Yeah, that's a valid point, you know. Yes, a valid point. The floodplains have been opened, and Deklein itself is a threat now. You know, yes, but it is such desperate times that create the most unlikely of heroes. It may be a cruel twist of fate that is exactly in those times when the greatest of heroes rise to the occasion, but also a chance to redeem what was lost in the past. Now 2 people are sitting at the edge of the station, just slowly like flying in. One of them is called Valgrind is recruiting, with a typo. I don't think this is like very convincing to join their corp if they can't go to the right ship. Oh, now he's flying in the wrong direction, orbiting the station instead. Anyway, it is an interesting phase of the war, but if you want to join and also fight the war, come join my corp and my Discord server, which is linked in the video description. But if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and also a big thank you to my Patreon supporters for carrying my channel, and I hope to see you next time.